This video is likely to be quite long because I want to address several points that were raised in the comment section of my previous video, and also to make a clarification on certain points because it was apparent when I was reading the comments that I didn't make myself clear enough. Let's talk about divine experience for a moment. Of course we should remain skeptical when someone tells us that they've experienced God. Of course, that goes without saying. And of course, we should remain skeptical if we ourselves experience something inexplicable. We shouldn't immediately attribute it to the divine. Of course. Once again, that goes without saying. And I want to reiterate what I was saying in the final part of my video, that there are many experiences which I, at the moment, based on my knowledge at the moment, believe that all divine experiences are, which are these experiences which are in fact have empirical explanations, but appear divine to the unskeptical mind. These are experiences such as the one imitated by Darren Brown in his program Messiah. There was an experiment done where scientists stimulated the frontal lobe of people's brains, and these people sensed a presence in the room they were in. And the people of religious persuasion were convinced it was God. Skeptics were just convinced that they felt something in the room. Any experience like this, which is open to skepticism, any experience which you are unsure about, if that's open to skepticism, of course you should remain skeptical. The kind of experience I'm talking about when I was talking about divine experience would not come under any of these headings. It would not be an experience that would even be open to doubt, because it wouldn't simply be an odd experience or even an inexplicable experience. It would actually be the influx of knowledge from another source. And in the same way that you see and gain knowledge through your sight, or gain a model through your sight, you would be gaining this knowledge from this higher being. I can't explain what this would feel like because I myself haven't experienced anything of the kind, and I doubt I ever will. This is what I'm praying for, so I can actually get some absolute knowledge for a change. However, it's important to note that this kind of experience would be different from anything you could even conceive of having an experience of. And it's important that you look at this as the thing I'm talking about, rather than just some inexplicable experience in which I seem to sense something else in the room with me. I want to reiterate this because this is important. A truly divine experience would not be open to skepticism because it would literally be the influx of knowledge, just from another source. Once again, I can't describe how this would be because I haven't experienced it, but it just would not be open to skepticism because you literally would be receiving knowledge from this higher being. Now you know what I'm talking about. I want to address what Bionic Dance was saying in the comments. Bionic Dance was saying that since the experience is cannot be corroborated, we should dismiss it. But let's consider what this truly divine experience would be. It would, by its very nature, not be able to be corroborated, because it would be this kind of thing which would come directly to your mind, rather than empirically through the senses. Now, some of you may at this point be saying that, well, we should only accept empirical data. But why? The only reason we limit ourselves to empirical data is that we have no evidence of any other direct source of knowledge. If we were to experience something truly divine and truly have this influx of knowledge, we would have another source of knowledge by definition. And this knowledge would not be able to be corroborated with anything else. Once again, you can remain skeptical as to whether this experience can actually occur or not. But you have to accept that if it did happen, if it's possible and it did happen, it would by its very nature be true, yet not be able to be corroborated with anything else. So this is my problem with what Bionic Dance was saying, because what she was doing was she was holding up this experience which would give you true knowledge to a standard which it, by its very nature, can never meet. And it's not the right standard to apply to this kind of influx of knowledge, because it's a completely different kind of experience, a completely different kind of knowledge that you're receiving. The other point I disagreed with the Bionic Dance on, and quite strongly, was that any god, she said, any god who doesn't reveal himself empirically is irrelevant to humanity. Well, firstly, I disagree with this as a philosopher, because I think that anything that's true has relevance to humanity. Now, once again, I don't believe in this God, but if he could reveal himself in any way, even a non-empirical way, as long as that method was true and valid, I would think that was relevant. I would think that would be believable. Why should a God be relevant purely in virtue of this single property, the disposition to reveal himself empirically? Not he may even be able to have the ability to reveal himself empirically, but as long as he doesn't have the disposition to reveal himself empirically, he's not relevant. I don't get that at all. There are numerous conceptions of God which would be perfectly relevant to the normal human, even if he didn't reveal himself empirically. I can think of, if there was a God up there who could send me to hell and only reveal himself through a different source of knowledge other than empirical truth. Remember, we're assuming that this source of knowledge is just as valid as empiricism, if not more so. Then that would be really relevant to me if I could go to hell. But could you clarify on that, because I didn't quite get what you were saying? I should be able to get through the rest of this quite quickly, so bear with me. This experience that we're talking about, which we only are trying to account for the possibility of, is an experience that would give you direct knowledge. It would be better in its nature than any empirical, any sense data, because what would come with it would be absolute certainty. This is the kind of experience we're talking about. And once again, there'd be no doubt as to its validity, simply because if you experience it, you would know on some weird level that I don't believe in, that it would be true. What I've been trying to do here, in this video and the last video, is saying that our framework should account for the possibility of this experience, and just holding this experience up to empirical standards will not do, because if it exists, it, by its very nature, can never meet those standards, no matter how true it is. My secondary point in the last video was that if we are to be honest as skeptics, we should seek out these experiences, while at the same time keeping our minds, and I didn't stress this enough, I realise this now, we should keep our minds skeptical while searching for these. We should, pray from time to time, just to see if God reveals himself to us and gives us this influx of knowledge which could not be mistaken for anything else. And once again, when we're talking to theists, we should educate them about these experiences which can appear to be divine yet aren't. We are perfectly within our rights to do that. We're not saying we can't argue with a theist on grounds of this. I'm saying that we don't have grounds for telling him to completely dismiss what he's saying. We can present him with the evidence, but we can't say for certain that this is the experience that he's having, because that would be arrogance of gross proportions, because you can't know what he's experienced. That was the only point I was making. You can't tell someone what they've experienced, though you can present them with the evidence and sort of ask them to question their experience. I hope now I've made myself clear. If the comments reflect that I haven't, I'm going to do a BlogTV on this topic, because I do think it's important, and I think it's something we should all be open to. So tell me what you think, and, well, I hope I've made myself more clear.